Good afternoon, everybody. This is Boomer's Daddy with Spreadsheet Sports coming to you live from a great, hot, humid, and sunny Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Got my new office kind of set up, so things will start to be getting back to normal. Just wanted to let you guys know that. Look for posts every day. I will have a podcast, a video cast, basically breaking down the slates each day. And this is actually a little bit of a bonus to you guys today. What I'm going to be doing this afternoon is basically taking you in depth into our new tool that we will be providing to you. This is no joke, really. I have worked feverishly with Brian over the last month. He has been so gracious and so kind to put this out and make it even better than I could have even hoped and imagined. Makes it a lot better than what my original one was that I was looking at every single day. But it's got the exact same stats. He's just basically streamlined it, made it a little bit better, added some new stuff in there. And it's absolutely amazing and awesome. We've been testing it over the last couple days, and now it's coming to you. The good thing about it is now you know basically when I'm referring to stats and stuff, this is exactly what I look at on a day in and day out basis. So that's the good thing. You can basically see everything that I look at and how I've set it up. It's got a pitcher tab and a hitter tab, so you can basically sort, and we'll go through everything and how I pick my players that I choose from on a night in and night out basis. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to go over here to the pitchers tab. Obviously, today is a split slate. We've got 4 games early in the morning. We've got the rest of them tonight. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sort basically by the slate. If we look at the schedule, we know that if we go up here, we can start sorting and stuff. We can go to team here. We know that Colorado, Chicago White Sox, they're not playing this evening. Let's see here. Pulling it up. Do. Hope you guys like my singing. It's not very good. No, I'm kidding. We know that Tampa Bay is not playing, so we can click on them. We know that Seattle's not playing. We can click on that. Cleveland and the Angels. So click. Oops, wrong one. Click and click. And Baltimore and Oakland. So click and click. All right. Then we're going to press OK. And as you see, it's taken away basically 8 pitchers here. Now you'll notice down here at the bottom, Luis Severino and Tyler Duffy, they don't have stats right here. That is basically because they have not pitched in the majors this year. So anytime we get a rookie starter, anytime we get somebody that's coming back off of injury, we will know that basically they have not pitched in the majors because they won't have any stats as far as their own personal stats. If you notice over here at the end, though, and I will go into this here in just a little bit, there are some stats, and that is actually extremely important that we must know and must see because it will tie into our hitters that we want to choose from. So the first thing I always do, and I'm going to go basically the first thing when I build my DFS lineups is I want to know the pitchers I want in my lineups, okay? I want to be able to distinguish cash game, GPP, and sometimes there's pitchers that will go in both. And then I also want to know basically, and this is where it helps to know the scoring of the site that you play on. I want to know if I want this guy on DraftKings only or on FanDuel only, or if they're a pitcher that can actually combo into both, okay? And the big thing that I always do is the first thing that I want to do is I want to go to this K per 9, okay? I'm going to click on the little arrow. I'm going to sort largest to smallest. Obviously, it takes this guy out here, so we don't need to worry about that. But then we can start to see, okay? We've got Matt Boyd at the top. But if we go over here and look at his innings pitched, we notice that it's only been 6 2/3 innings pitched. Okay. So, yes, this is really, really good. But you start to look at some of the other numbers that I'll go over here in a little bit, and you notice that it's probably not that great either. So, it looks like with Matt Boyd, it's been 2 games and he's allowed some runs in a couple games. He might be a bullpen guy making a spot start. We know that we're not going to target him because he's got a 14.85 ERA. He allows a 5.46 WOBA to righties, a 5.62 to lefties. He's allowed 5 home runs in just 6 2/3 innings. So we know already that we can target with him, although he does have obviously high K potential. Okay. So I'm not really worried about Matt Boyd, but where I can start to go through is I can start to look, and the first name that I pop in is Carlos Martinez. Okay. And on FanDuel, where you don't get negative points for hits, walks, and hit batters and stuff like that. It's not a pitcher efficiency site. And what I mean by that is if you ever look at the scoring on DraftKings, there's an HA that pops up and then you'll see a negative points, okay? And this is hits against. And this is where this stat over here, this whip stat, comes into huge play. Okay. WHIP basically stands for walks plus hits over innings pitched. Okay. So basically, this is how many base runners per inning this guy on average allows. Okay. An average WHIP for a major league pitcher is right around 1.2. So we know that Carlos Martinez is a little bit above average, but not so much to where I'm too worried about it. Okay. So he would be somebody that I would be able to target on both sides. Okay. Because he has a high strikeout potential, which gets us a lot of points. And he has a lower whip. Now, what scares me with Carlos Martinez is he has those games where he can look like the next coming of Pedro Martinez, who he has been absolutely compared to, okay? And the great part about it is that you're talking about a Hall of Famer that he's been compared to. But unlike Pedro Martinez, and understand this, Carlos is still extremely young. Unlike Pedro Martinez, you're talking about a guy that has the ability to implode a lot. If you watch Pedro back in his heyday with the Expos and the Red Sox, he was absolutely dominant, lights out starter, best starter in the majors at the time. Basically, what we saw out of Clayton Kershaw last year and what we're getting out of Zach Greinke, when you're surprised if he allows 3 or 4 runs in a 7-inning game. He was pitching complete games. He was striking out 10-plus batters. He was an absolute joy and fun to watch, and he's one of my favorite pitchers of all time. But if you look at this, he's got a 302 BABIP, which basically, and I'll go over it when we go into hitters, but basically what that says is that he allows a lot of balls in play. BABIP stands for batting average for balls in play, okay? And this could be a couple different factors. One, this could be the placement of his defense. We know that shifts in today's age are extremely prevalent. So you can basically go in and you can look and see, okay, how many times do the Cardinals shift? And the Cardinals actually don't shift a lot. And there's debate between the old school and new school, the sabermetrics guys and the old school guys on exactly how many does the shift really help? Does it hurt? All sorts of stuff. I won't go into that because you can look at it both ways. But in order to know exactly what is good, you have to know what the league average for pitchers is as far as BABIP. And what that is right around a 295. So he's a little bit higher than league average as far as BABIP is concerned. Okay. If I go over here to his ERA, it's a 2.61. Okay. Which is extremely good. But in today's day and age, ERA is basically, it's, in my opinion, a useless stat. This basically just says that he allows 2 earned runs per 9 innings. Well, that's fantastic, but, or 2.5 earned runs per 9 innings. That's fantastic. But we know that our pitchers aren't pitching 9 innings every single time. Okay. XFIP and SIERA kind of normalize a lot of different things. One, they normalize home runs based on ballpark factors. 2, they basically take out home runs as well, and it makes it to where everything is kind of normalized. Basically, what Brian and I have done, and this is what I used to have in my spreadsheet. I used to go through and write down all these stats and then input them manually into my spreadsheet. And I had basic formulas that would do some calculations and stuff like that. But what Brian has done is basically taken this. He takes the XFIP and the SIERA, he averages them together, okay, and then subtracts them off the ERA. Basically, what your XFIP and SIERA are going to get is your when you average it together is your true talent ERA. This is basically the baseline for your pitcher. Okay. So if I pull up my calculator right here, maybe, okay, and I go 3.23 plus 3.38, and it equals 6.61. You're going to divide that by 2. And that's going to give me a 3.305 true talent ERA, or a true talent pitcher stat. Okay. And what that does is he takes that and he subtracts it from the ERA, and we get this number right here, which is basically what he has called the luck factor. Okay. This basically will show us if he's due to regress or not. Now, if it's a negative number, that means his true talent is basically higher than where he is pitching right now. Okay. And this could be due to a couple different things. Like I said, ballpark that he pitches in. It could be to defense, the quality of defense he has behind him, his strand rate, basically how many runners he's stranding, all sorts of different things. But the big thing that you want to know is that Carlos Martinez is due to regress a little bit, about just over a half a run per 9 innings. In the grand scheme of things, that is not a lot, okay? Especially when you're considering a huge sample size. You're talking at over 124 innings that he's pitched, okay? But the biggest thing that you want to do is you want to take this and you want to compare it to your home and road ERA. Okay, he's on the road. His road ERA is 2.40, and I don't care what anybody tells you, there are pitchers that pitch better on the road than they do at home due to ballpark or whatever, and there are pitchers that pitch better at home than they do on the road. It's a simple statistic, okay? It's an anomaly statistic, but it's a simple statistic, okay? So you can take that into account. So you're looking at a 2.61 overall ERA, a 2.4 ERA at or away from Busch Stadium, and I have the makings of a fantastic play on FanDuel and DraftKings, okay, because of his low WHIP. Now, the biggest thing that you want to take a look at is when you start looking at whether or not he's a cash game or a GPP play, a cash game play or a GPP play. You want to look at his WOBA and his home runs allowed for right and left-handers, okay? We have split this to where it shows you the overall WOBA, but it's also split based on the handedness of hitters. Typically, normally, right-handed pitchers allow a higher WOBA to left-handed batters than they do righties. Now, where this is important is it also helps you know where you can target pitchers, okay? So for Carlos Martinez, if I was going to take Cincinnati Reds tonight in GPPs, then or cash games really, then I would want to target left-handed batters against him because he allows a 269 WOBA, which is extremely good to righties, but a 326 WOBA to lefties. So you're looking at the total WOBA, which is good. Anything below 311, which is the league average WOBA, is extremely good. Okay, so you're talking about a WOBA to lefties above league average, and there you go. That will typically let you know exactly how many home runs he's allowed to righties or lefties, and whether or not he's strong versus he's got reverse splits or he's strong against righties or lefties or anything like that. Okay. Now, the last three statistics are the opponent's WOBA against that handedness of pitcher, the ISO against that handedness of pitcher, and the opponent's K percentage versus that handedness of pitcher. Now, where this is important is you have, and I'm going to pick on them, and you guys love when I do this. I know you do. You have teams like the Colorado Rockies who absolutely crush right-handed pitching. Okay. And then you have teams like the Colorado Rockies who are putrid against left-handed pitching. So this is extremely, extremely important. Okay. When I talk about capitalizing off of chaos and turning chaos into cash, then this is where I look and I target. Okay. One of my biggest, I said this yesterday in the podcast, and I've called it a couple times this year. When the Twins went off against Chris Sale, I called it. When last night I had Rays all over the place and it almost won me a trip to Vegas, I called that one as well. I faded Chris Sale completely, and rightfully so. This is where I grabbed that statistics and where I got that information. Okay. Teams that hit well against that handedness of pitcher are extremely, extremely good. Okay. Now we have this to where if it's the higher it is, the redder it is. And that means basically I'm looking at it from a pitcher's point of view. I don't like the matchup of Carlos Martinez in cash games versus the Cincinnati Reds because of the fact that they hit right-handers extremely well. You're talking about players like Jay Bruce, Joey Votto, Todd Frazier, who, even though he's been struggling over the course of the year, has hit right-handed pitching extremely well. Okay. And they only strike out at an 18.9% rate versus right-handed pitching. So basically what I've done is I've gone through every line of these, and this will give you the total too. We know what that is. This is wrong though. It should be a right. He's a right-hander, not a left-hander. This will give you basically an idea of whether or not he's a cash game play in your opinion, or a GPP play. Now, this is something extremely important. I can look at 5 numbers and interpret them differently than you can look at 5 numbers. Now, the biggest part about it is not the way you interpret it, but how you apply it. Okay. If you are looking through here and you see this right here, we're going to go down to Madison Bumgarner. The Atlanta Braves have a 295 WOBA against left-handed pitching with a 109 ISO. By far the worst on today's slate. I can take him for cash games, and this is where I'm going to find that number. Okay. But some people might say, okay, let's see here. Let's go down to let's see here. Okay, let's do this right here. Andrew Hutchinson versus the Minnesota Twins. Okay, they only have a 304 WOBA versus right-handed pitching but they hit him at a 146 ISO, which is a league average. Okay. You're talking about what I would consider Andrew Hutchinson a GPP play. But you also can take a look at it and say, okay, I know the Twins are bad on the road. It's a higher total. He's a he should be a favorite. Guys, this is the first release of this. We haven't really looked at everything to make sure it is pulling right, but I think he's a favorite. Yeah, he's a favorite. Andrew Hutchinson's a minus 200 favorite. So I will get a hold of Brian after we get done here and let you guys and get everything kind of updated. But if you look at it, you can say, okay, they hit for a lot of power against right-handed pitching, but they don't hit a lot versus right-handed pitching, and they have one of the higher strikeout percentages. So you can take these numbers and you can apply them differently than I apply them, and you could say, okay, Scott Kazmir, he is got a 2.10 ERA, but his true talent shows that he should be at a 3.73. You're talking about over a run and a half of regression that's due to come up and normalize. You could say, okay, I'm going to target Texas bats against him. But I could sit here and say, okay, he's got a 2.10 ERA. He's got a 1.04 whip. He's got a 0.247 BABIP. He's got a 250 WOBA to righties, a 264 to lefties. He's only allowed 7 home runs in 124 and a third innings. I know the Rangers hit a lot, but I'm going to take the pitcher in this matchup, especially as lineups get released, it could change. But I'm going to take the pitcher in this matchup and throw him into not only GPPs, but cash games. Okay. So that's how I look at pitchers as far as looking at it from a pitcher's standpoint. So after we've done that, and I'll grab probably 4 or 5 pitchers that I want to look at as far as actually playing them. And then obviously you can go down here and you can start to look at some of these numbers and stuff. And I'll target 4 or 5 pitchers with high run totals in those games that I want to target against. So that's how I look at my pitchers. And now you have the ability to look at the exact same thing that I look at every single morning. If we go to hitters here, the hitters, obviously, it will change on a day in and day out basis because sometimes we have 8 games, sometimes we have 12 games, sometimes we have 15 games. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm always going to go based on the slate. It will pull over. And I'm going to get rid of, Cleveland, Colorado, Chicago, Angels, Baltimore, Oakland, Seattle, Tampa Bay. I believe that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that's it. Okay. So now I'm going to sort here. One of the things that you can also do is after you've sorted through that, okay, and you've got all your teams, you can go over here to the betting total and you can pull and say, okay, I don't want to pick any players from a 6.5, a 7.5, or a 7 game. I want to stick to just players that are in games with high Vegas totals of 8 or higher. Click OK, and boom. Now you have just sorted out players that are in games that have a Vegas total of 8 or higher. Okay. Now, when you look at hitters, it's explained in my articles, there are 4 stats up here that you see that are extremely important to me. And I look at each of them differently as far as whether or not I want to use that stat for both cash and GPP, or just GPP, or just cash. Okay. Typically, what I like to do is if I can nail down players that are in my top 25 or top 30 that are in every single one of those lists, they're almost 100% locked to make a lot of my lineups that night. Okay. So if you go down here, you can go, and I'll just go, and what I do is, the first thing I do is I sort by ISO. I'm going to go largest to smallest. Oops. Yeah, there's going to be some that don't have any at bats and stuff like that. And this is all sorted basically on the handedness of pitcher that they're facing. So David Ortiz, he's going against Luis Severino. He's a right-handed batter. So you're just going to see his numbers versus right-handed pitching this year. Okay. I'm going to take this right here. You scroll all the way down, click on NA so it doesn't show up, and boom. Okay. So I'm going to take this, and I have now sorted for my ISO. Okay. Obviously, you can also go over here, and I can start sorting for positions as well. Okay. Now, the biggest thing is that what you want to do is, this has got it to where it pulls it from DraftKings as far as the position eligibility. And the reasoning is because they have the multi-position eligibility. It just would have been too difficult to do both. But this would have been, this is how we've decided that we want to do it. I'm going to select all and clear everything. And I'm going to go down there and just select all first basemen. Okay. And now it pulls up it pulls up everybody that's eligible to play first base on both sites. It should. I believe so. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm basically going to write down the top 5-6 players at each position, and I'm going to write down their ISO. Okay. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to do it again on WRC plus. Okay. And I'm going to do it in the order, because the higher they are in the order on the average, then the better chance for me that they play, or that they're going to make it into my lineups. When I do a lot of lineup stuff, when I do a lot of my research, I will make notes on who has a higher ISO. Like Miggy Cabrera obviously has a higher ISO than Eric Hosmer. But if you look, that's not a good example because Miggy's awesome. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's a good one. Evan Gattis obviously has a higher ISO than Prince Fielder. But if you look over here, Prince Fielder has a better average and a better WOBA. Okay. And basically, so that allows me to say, okay, Evan Gattis is a tournament play because his average is down, his WOBA is smaller, and his BABIP is still the same. But so if I were choosing between Evan Gattis and Prince Fielder, it would go based off of who I would choose in which type of game. In cash, I'm more apt to go with Prince Fielder because he has the overall statistics that back up that he's more consistent on a lot of different, on more than just isolated power. Okay. Let's go back here and select all and go through there. I go through each position and I'll write down things just to make sure that I don't miss anything. But we're going to go back here to ISO. You'll notice that you've got Kyle Blanks, and he's been on the DL, so obviously that's there, so you don't have to worry about him. But you got Hank Conger, Mark Teixeira, Miguel Sanu, Mason Williams, who's actually a New York Yankee that I played the other night and actually did pretty well with. But you can start to go through here and start to look at all the different ones and who's in good and matchups and who's not, okay? Basically, what I'll do is this, is I will, after I write down 5-6 players from each position, I will then get out of this and go to my projections tool. Pull up. Thank you. I will go over here to FanDuel. Wait, hold on. DraftKings. Go over here to DraftKings. I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to add filters. Okay. And then I can start to pick. If I want them excluded or locked in my lineup, I can choose it here. Obviously, we all know that. But I'm more worried about the X's. Okay. If I go over here to my sheet and I say, okay, I want to determine that for GPPs, everybody that is, say, Jared Dyson, okay, he's got a 139 ISO, only a 94 runs created plus. He's got a 239 average, a 290 BABIP, and a 307 WOBA. You will see in my article that basically all of those are at or below league average. He has now become, this is against right-handed pitching, he has now become a excluded on my list. Okay, not saying that he is, but he is now becoming excluded on my list. I would go over to my projections tool. I'd put an X by his name, and that way I have told my projections tool basically a pool of players to build my lineups from. Okay. Now, when you are doing this, make sure that you don't exclude everybody that's minimum value. Okay. If you start excluding everybody that is, 2,500 and below because they don't have the sample size that you want or something like that, then your projections model will basically look at you, stick out its tongue, and act like a 5-year-old. So you still have to have value, especially with higher price pitching, but that is a way that you can basically tell your projections model a player pool to choose from. I typically narrow it down to right around 50 players, depending on the size of the slate. Obviously, outfielders are more because there's 3 spots that you have to fill and you want different combinations to be able to choose from. But I typically go 5 or 6 first basemen deep, try to get some value, try to get some higher ones, 4 or 5 catchers, 4 or 5 second basemen, shortstop, 5, 6 third baseman, 5, 6 pitchers, and I'll basically take them and mark on my sheet whether or not I want them to be a GPP play or a cash game play or both. And that way, when I know I'm building, okay, these are my cash game lineups, these are my head-to-heads, these are my 50-50s, these are my double-ups, then I know that, okay, David Ortiz tonight is a both, but Eric Hosmer is a cash game only. Or, that way I can exclude how I need to and include how I need to. So I hope I haven't confused anybody. I'm really excited about this sheet. There's still some bugs and stuff and some kinks that we've got to work out. Obviously, we've been testing it, and there's still some things that it looks like we've missed. But this should give you a very, very good starting point on your daily research. This should help you devise a player pool to only make your projections model and your lineup model or your lineup optimizer that much more powerful to help you create better winning lineups. So, guys, what we've done is basically streamlined and sped up my research process that normally took me all day. I don't know what I'm going to do with all the free time that now Brian has created for me. Maybe get a couple more boxes unpacked for my wife, but no, I'm kidding. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm extremely excited about it. He's made my life a lot easier, and hopefully he has made your life a lot easier as well. Give us some feedback on the Google Plus page. Let us know if there's something in there that you would like to see. Maybe it's something that we've kicked around and talked about. We just haven't included it yet. or that we decided to not include for whatever reason, and we can kind of let you know exactly what what those reasons are. There's stuff that we obviously probably could have made better and maybe missed, and there's probably stuff in there that you might want to see that isn't in there. But don't be afraid to give us some feedback, and let us do anything and everything that we possibly can to make it better for you. So for Spreadsheet Sports, I am Boomer's daddy. Good luck tonight, everybody, and let's make some money. Bye.